Okay, just a little bit of practicing about the grafting. I've put some videos up before, but I'm just putting this one up now anyway. You can find some old grafting videos I've made. And this is just about practicing. Here is some waste wood, which is going to be thrown away. Here's a couple of grafting knives, which is a more budding knife. This is a Victorinox. I've never actually used this for grafting, but it's probably a good one to do it. I got this free with something else I bought, Secateurs, I think. This knife is beveled on one side. I don't know if you can see that. It's absolutely flat on that side, and on this side it's beveled. This is a bit blunt. I've just been using this to practice with, but anyway, I'll put that away because I'm not actually going to use that. This is my Opinel number 6. This particular one has a walnut handle. Most of these are beech handles. You've got a wider range of these in France. Beautiful knife. They come in a range of sizes. This is the number 6, and they are the inoxidable stainless steel. This one's inoxidable, or else they're high carbon steel. I'm not going to argue about which is the best. I tend to go for the inoxidable. By the way, the more modern Opinels, they have this little groove in here so they can lock, so that this way they won't come open in your pocket. Not that I've had a big problem with that, but it's just a nice little extra safety feature. Obviously they lock like that. This is number 6. I've just actually put a little bit of an edge on this, so it's quite sharp. I use Japanese Japanese waterstone, and it's with thin blade. You can see that. It's the reflection looking outside. It's a very thin blade. So this is one more bit of equipment. This is the Methylated Spirits, which some sort of rag and bottle. I carry this around with me. I don't normally get particularly excited about keeping things to an extremely high level of sterility, but when I'm grafting, I like to just give this a little wipe. Although it's very important that you let it completely dry off, and the alcohol on this, it must completely evaporate, totally evaporate off before you do any grafting. I'm not bothering with that right now. What I'm suggesting that you do, if you are not practiced in doing this, get some spare wood, odd bits of wood, and just practice, sit and practice until you get it right. Just going to demonstrate my old favourite, the saddle graft. Now that's not right, so that's a bit, that's a bad angle. It needs to be straight. You won't always get this right first time. Now I haven't done any grafting for a year, so I'm just going to do a little bit of practice. Partly, let's get it right. Okay, that looks quite neat. That's lost the bark. I'm just going to snick that off. So that's square. You don't have to worry too much about this. All right, let's graft something on top of that. That might be a little bit short. It doesn't matter too much. Put that down. Imagine that's your actual stock growing in the ground. Note where I lock my thumbs together. Lock my thumbs together. That means the knife isn't going to slide away like that. Let's get this. Line those two up. Okay, go at an angle, and then you slightly tighten the angle there a bit. Adjust the angle. There we are. So looks like that might fit reasonably well. Okay, against the light, actually it's not quite perfect, is it really? I can adjust this. I'm not talking through every little cut I make. You've got to work this out for yourself. Practice until you get more or less perfect. Yeah, that's a lot better. That fits. I'm holding up against the light. I don't know if you can see that. You get the light through it. That'll do. It's not actually. That's not great. And that's the point. You practice. I'm going to make a slightly longer cut. By the way, when I've done this, I'm going to do a few of these. I'll show you the whip graft. I don't tend to use the whip graft. I have used it in the past and it's fine. Actually, that's about the right length there. You want this to be square across the front, across the top. Is that about right? It's slightly wonky. Doesn't matter if it's a bit wonky, as long as the two things come together correct. Let's have a go with this. Actually, do a slightly thicker one now, so the relative diameters. So I never tire of saying, however tired people might get listening to me say it, if your blade isn't sharp enough to hurt you badly, it's not sharp enough to do the job properly. Okay, that isn't quite right. It's a bit too sharp at the end, so blunt it slightly. I'm out of practice here. Yeah, that's not quite right there. You probably do though. And the key thing is when you tie it up, you compress it. Usually the cut I want to make is usually about an inch long, about 2 to 2.5 centimeters. Don't like that. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I'm getting my skill back a bit now. See, I actually need this practice. It's not just me doing this to make a video. I actually need to practice because I got out of the habit. That's actually the best one I've done. What you want to do is, if this is overlapping slightly, you go in there and just remove a little bit, just that little bit there, so that this is live wood to live wood. Tiny bit there as well. Now I'm pleased with that. That's actually by far the best one I've done. That's going to fit in nicely. Yeah, that's nice. Okay, so I'm not going to. Yeah, that's actually quite. It's holding together a lot better. So I've actually improved my own skills slightly. Well, I just got back into it. Right, finally, I'm just going to demonstrate this. A lot of folks have asked me about the whip graft, or the whip and tongue graft. Actually, this is a little bit unhealthy, that wood there. So I'm going to reject that. Not worried. Of course, it's only dead wood I'm practicing with, so it doesn't really matter. It's just going to be thrown out. The whip graft. I want to do the whip and tongue graft. This needs to be straight as you can get it. That looks quite nice. Yeah, that's a nice one. So that's that again. That's your rootstock, obviously, and we're going to cut now a whip to match it on the scion. It's to be as near perfect as you can get it. Hey, why not aim for perfect? Right, so we put these two together. So it isn't quite right. This needs to be a bit longer. Okay, that's about right, isn't it? So we put those two together, and they fit quite nicely, So we whip those up, whip those two together. In fact, at the top end, I could improve this slightly. Let's make a little cut there. Yeah, let's improve that a little bit. Yeah, that's a whip graft, and you've got to whip that tightly. But you can improve this by making it into a whip and tongue graft. And what you do, you cut a little tongue. This is a little bit fiddly to do this. It's not the easiest thing to do. Work out where this has got to be to fit in. It's got to be about there. Okay, so we're done. So we put those two together. So now you've got a whip and tongue. Okay. It's not rocket science. Having said that, I've never done any rocket science myself, but I'm persuaded that rocket science is a question of getting a lot of little things right altogether. So this is a whip and tongue graft. I don't know if you can see that. The whip and tongue is a reasonably good graft. I'm just, again, a little bit of tidying up because it slipped slightly because of where the tongue's gone. But that's your whip and tongue graft. I think you can see it just there. And it's perfectly sound graft. It does the job. But, you know, in the end, I don't think it's as stable as I don't think it's as stable a graft. I don't think it gives as stable a union as the saddle graft, which will continue, I think, to be my favourite graft. But key point I'm making here, and really the only point of me doing this video, is to remind you to practice, particularly if you've never done. Look, frankly, if you've never done this before, you've never practiced at this before, and you get the precious scion wood that you've got your hands on at the moment, got in your fridge, and you go out and graft it without having practiced it, you're probably not going to get very good joints, and you're not going to get a successful outcome. So, for pity's sake, even if you're going to, if you only get a few bits of hazel or willow to practice with, I mean, for the texture, you're better off practicing with apple. But yeah, you really would definitely have a better result if you do a little bit of practicing. And that's what Raymond Bush said, and I learned most of what I know from reading his book. And he was right. Okay, there you go.